I'm Patricia.
Standing in the middle of the storm, lashed living room, watching my father, Victor, flee into the night, I finally felt the weight lift off my chest. The air was thick with the remnants of our heated confrontation, and the only sound was the howling wind and the pelting rain. It all started when I received that fateful call from Victor. He demanded I come to his mansion, and when I arrived, he greeted me with, "Sign these papers, or I'll make a few calls and your entire restaurant chain will be out of business by the end of the week." He didn't ask about my well-being, my life, nothing. He just thrust a contract in my face, insisting I use my hard-earned restaurant empire to pay off his failing tech company's debts. He sat at the head of the table, like a despot on a throne, swirling his brandy, waiting for me to break. He saw me as the 25-year-old girl he had cast out of the family 4 years ago, the one who used to plead for his approval. But he failed to recognize the 29-year-old CEO who had turned rejection into a thriving business. My husband, Ethan, was sitting in the corner at a small table. Victor had sneered at him, saying, "The help doesn't sit with the owners." Ethan just sat there with quiet resolve, giving me a subtle nod. He knew why we were here, and what I had planned. My younger brother, Leo, was also there. He was 23, dressed in an expensive suit, nervously tapping on his phone. He was the root cause of Victor's financial mess, though he probably didn't fully understand the extent of it. He was the pampered one, the one who never had to work for anything, yet always seemed exhausted from his lack of purpose. Victor cleared his throat impatiently. "Stop stalling, Patricia. The ink is drying. Sign this, and we'll forget you ever left. We'll be a family again." The word family made me scoff. I remembered how Victor had treated me and my mother. 4 years ago, just a day before my wedding, I received an eviction notice for our wedding venue. Victor owned the building through a shell company and canceled the lease just to show his control. I ended up getting married at the courthouse in a dress I bought off the rack an hour before because my custom-made gown was locked in the shuttered venue. Instead of breaking me, that humiliation fueled my determination. Ethan and I used the wedding deposit to buy a rundown building in the city, which later became our first restaurant. But the worst was what happened to my mother. 2 years ago, when she got sick, there was a revolutionary treatment in Japan. It was costly, and I didn't have enough funds at the time. I begged Victor for help, and he told me the company was facing cash flow problems. I believed him. I sat by her bedside as she passed away, holding her hand. 2 weeks after her funeral, Leo posted a picture of a new Lamborghini, a gift from Victor. There were no cash flow issues. He just chose a car for his son over his wife's life. That was the moment I decided to fight back. I hired forensic accountants and tracked every penny of his financial dealings. I watched as he leveraged the company, the house, and his reputation to maintain an illusion of power. When Victor barked at me to sign the loan, I calmly placed the pen on the table and reached into my bag. I slid a notice of assignment across the table. 2 weeks ago, I bought your debt portfolio, I said. He laughed, thinking I was joking. But I explained that after the audit in 2020, his bank had blacklisted him, and he'd been relying on high-interest loans from a predatory lender. I'd paid a premium of $15 million in cash to acquire his debt. I gave him 2 options. Wire $17 million, principal plus interest, to my account by midnight, or let me enforce the default and seize the company and the house. His arrogance started to crack, but then he had a trick up his sleeve. He pulled out his tablet and showed me a spreadsheet of cash deposits into my restaurant chain's accounts. All were under $10,000, made at various bank branches. He claimed it was structuring, a federal felony. He threatened to send the file to the FBI, freeze my assets, and destroy my business if I didn't forgive his debt. I looked at Leo, and he admitted that Victor had given him envelopes to deposit, saying I was in trouble. Victor had groomed Leo for this moment, using him as a weapon to frame me. But I was prepared. I reached for my phone and pulled up an email from 45 days ago. It was a receipt for a suspicious activity report I'd filed with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. My automated compliance system had flagged the deposits as soon as they hit the structuring threshold. I was the whistleblower, not the suspect. Victor's face turned ashen. I told him he'd just confessed to a RICO case by blackmailing a cooperating witness. I gave him an ultimatum: leave now or face the FBI in the morning. In the end, he fled into the storm and Leo stayed behind, realizing he'd been used. I decided to let the bank seize the house. I just wanted to be free of the debt, the shame, and the toxicity. I texted my lawyer to represent Leo and get him a deal, then blocked everyone else. I drove away, leaving behind the legacy of his mistakes and keeping my integrity intact.